You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin.
The whiskey hit my face before the laughter did. Cold, sharp, and sudden. I blinked, frozen, as it slid down my chin and soaked into my shirt collar. Jake held his glass up like it was a damn trophy, grinning like a jackass. "Lighten up, man," he said, loud enough for the whole table to hear. "It's called a joke." A couple people laughed, the kind of uncomfortable, forced chuckle people give when they don't know what else to do. One of the clients from Kansas City actually looked embarrassed for me. Jake didn't care. He leaned back in his chair, still smirking, like he'd just won something. "My name's Mitch. I'm 44 years old, co-owner of Redline Freight Logistics, based in St. Louis. Or at least I was, up until that moment. Quick note. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. We were supposed to be celebrating 10 years in business. 10 years of busted knuckles, red-eye flights, last-minute freight recoveries. I built that company with Jake, and I let him take credit for way too much of it. He'd been running his mouth all evening. Nothing new. Talking over me, interrupting every time I spoke to a client, making little digs that sounded like jokes to anyone who didn't know better. "Mitch is the heart of the company," he said earlier, throwing finger quotes in the air. Translation: he cries when we go over budget. I laughed it off. I always did. That night, though, that was different. After the whiskey toss, I didn't say a word. Just grabbed a napkin and dabbed my face. My hands were steady, too steady. I didn't even feel angry. I felt done. Like something inside me had finally quit waiting for Jake to change. I stood up slow, my chair scraping against the carpet. Nobody stopped me. A couple of the newer employees looked like they didn't know whether to laugh or pretend nothing happened. Jake raised his glass again like he was toasting me. "Come on, Mitch. Don't be such a..." I didn't wait to hear the rest. I walked straight out of that ballroom, my shirt clinging to my chest, my pride left somewhere on that linen-covered table. Out in the parking lot, the night was humid and thick. I stood by my truck, keys in my hand, and stared back at the hotel lights. This wasn't just one bad night. This was the line. And Jake had just stomped all over it. I didn't even turn on the lights when I got home. Just kicked the door shut with my heel and headed straight down the hall, soaked shirt still sticking to my back. The whiskey had dried, but it still clung to me, sharp, sour, cloying. I passed the kitchen, ignored my phone buzzing on the counter, and walked into my office. I flipped the light on and stood there a second, staring at my desk. Everything in that room had been picked to look clean and efficient, the way Jake liked things when clients dropped by. I'd let him design the whole damn space. Said it didn't matter. Said I didn't care. I did. I yanked the desk drawer open and grabbed an old yellow legal pad. The kind we used back when the company was just the two of us in a rental space over a bakery in downtown St. Louis. I sat down in the chair, wet fabric cold against my skin, and clicked a pen open. At the top of the page, I wrote, "Jake." Everything I let slide. The list poured out of me. That time he told our biggest client that he stayed up all night fixing the inventory glitch, when it was me in the office at 2 in the morning sorting through spreadsheets. The meeting with the New York investor where he introduced me as the guy who does the boring ops stuff. The raise he gave himself last year without even bringing it up at our partner meeting, and the way he shrugged when I called him out on it. "Don't worry about it, man. It evens out." The list got longer. Meetings he'd scheduled without telling me. Deals he'd closed behind my back. Times he ignored my emails, told interns I was too sensitive, made jokes about my divorce in front of the younger staff like I was some washed-up sad sack. I wasn't writing it for revenge. I was writing it so I could finally see it all in one place. No more mental gymnastics. No more maybe I'm overreacting. I needed it spelled out, black ink on yellow paper. I opened my laptop, logged into our shared drive, and started digging. I found emails, meeting notes, financial statements, all of it, cross-referenced with dates. I highlighted the incident with the client bonus he promised without clearing the margin hit with me. Pulled up the contract where he tried to shift performance review responsibilities entirely under his department. Every little cut, all backed up. It didn't feel good. felt necessary. I sat back and looked at the growing stack on my desk. A whole history of quiet disrespect, one joke at a time. I wasn't crazy. That's what hit me the hardest. I'd spent years twisting myself into knots, wondering if maybe I was just being too rigid, too prideful. Jake was the loud one, the funny one, the visionary. I was the guy who made the trains run on time. But that night, that was the first time I saw it clearly. He didn't just enjoy the spotlight. He needed me to stay in the shadows for him to feel big. And I let him. I stared at the paper again. My name wasn't anywhere on it. Just his. And that was the problem. This company was supposed to be ours. We started it as equals. But somewhere along the line, I became a prop in Jake's show. I took off the wet shirt and tossed it in the corner. Still damp, still reeking. Just like the way I'd been living. Soaked in a stench I'd convinced myself I couldn't escape. I opened the file cabinet and pulled out our original partnership agreement. Scanned the clause on dissolution. Then I opened a new folder on my desktop. Exit. I didn't know exactly how yet, but I knew I wasn't staying. I didn't sleep that night. Barely blinked. By morning, I was still in sweatpants, shirtless, and standing over the printer while it spit out the last few pages of my file. I slid everything into a folder, the list, the emails, the screenshots, and the first draft of my intent to dissolve the partnership. Not a threat. Not a tantrum. A step. I got dressed like it was any other day. Navy button-up, dark jeans, brown boots. Nothing flashy. Just clean and sharp. Drove in with the windows down. I didn't feel angry. I felt ready. Jake blew in at 9:15 like always. Coffee in one hand, sunglasses still on. Bluetooth headset clipped to his ear like he was auditioning for a job in '05. He walked past Stacy at reception and pushed open my office door without knocking. "You still mad about last night?" he said, half laughing already. "Jesus, Mitch, you need thicker skin, man. It was a joke." People laughed. I didn't answer, just opened the folder and slid it across the desk. He looked at it like it was a takeout menu. Flipped a few pages. His smirk hung on a few seconds longer than it should have. "What is this?" I leaned back in my chair. Everything I've ignored for the last 5 years. Plus a draft of my exit from the partnership. He stopped flipping. "You're joking," he said, trying to laugh again, but his voice had already tightened. "I'm not." "You're serious?" He dropped the folder back on the desk. "You're actually doing this?" "I'm out." He shook his head, hands on his hips now, eyes darting. "Over a whiskey joke? You've lost your mind. This is dramatic. It's not about last night. It's about everything." He took a step closer, lowering his voice. "You think you can run a company without me? You think clients want you in the room instead of me? I think I'll be just fine." He let out a sharp laugh, then pointed at the folder. "That list of yours? Looks like a diary entry. You gonna cry into it next?" I kept my voice even. "I've got the documentation to back up every line. Contracts, emails, payroll changes. I've already started the legal process." That stopped him cold. He looked down at the folder again, then back up at me. "You went to a lawyer?" "Yeah." He turned away and paced, muttering under his breath. Then louder. "You're throwing away 10 years of business over your pride." I stood, calm, slow. "No, Jake. You threw it away. One cut at a time. You just didn't think I'd ever walk." He faced me again. "So what, we split the company? You take your little list and walk off into the sunset?" "I don't need to walk off. I just need out." He laughed again, bitter this time. "You don't even have a plan. You'll find out soon enough." He stared at me, mouth twitching like he wanted to say something else. Maybe threaten, maybe beg, but nothing came out. After a few seconds, he grabbed the folder, stuffed it under his arm, and stormed out. I didn't watch him leave. I sat back down and opened my laptop. I booked the meeting under my personal name, not the company. Used a burner Gmail and paid for parking in cash. Paranoid? Maybe. Smart? Definitely. Her name was Rachel Klein. Mid-40s, blunt, sharp eyes. Her office sat in a downtown St. Louis high-rise with no signs out front. Just frosted glass and quiet confidence. Exactly what I needed. She barely glanced at the folder I handed her before flipping open her laptop. "Walk me through it," she said. "I want out," I told her. "Clean. Legal. I don't want to screw him over, but I'm not walking away broke either." She nodded like she'd heard that 100 times. "Tell me about the structure." I laid it out 50-50 split on paper but not in practice. I handled operations, logistics, employee management. Jake controlled the pitch meetings, the accounts, and the public face. He also controlled the narrative, and that was the real problem. "Who owns the trademarks?" she asked. I pulled up the IP documents on my phone and slid it across. "Technically, both of us, but he had his buddy file the paperwork." Rachel scrolled, then raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, that buddy? Didn't list your name on the copyright for the brand materials. That's a problem." I felt it in my chest, that tight pinch behind the ribs. "He told me it was just a formality." "It's not, but it's fixable. You've got usage proof, internal docs, financial records. We can make it ugly if we need to." She typed something quickly, then looked back at me. "Tell me about the finances. Any funny business?" I hesitated, then opened the secure folder I'd prepped the night before. "This just started a few months ago. These accounts weren't in our shared quarterly reports." Rachel clicked through the bank statements, her jaw tightening. "Jesus, he's been moving cash to a separate LLC." "Side project," I said. "Didn't tell me." "How much?" "Almost 200 grand. She looked up. "That's theft." "No kidding." Rachel closed her laptop. "Okay. First, you're setting up a new business account solo. We'll start transferring your share of liquid funds before he freezes anything. Second, I'll get started on paperwork to dissolve the partnership formally. We're gonna need to move fast." I nodded. "There's a video too. Might be useful." Her eyebrow went up. "Video of what?" "The whiskey incident. One of the junior associates caught it on their phone." "Even better." That night, I sat at my kitchen table with 2 laptops open. One for personal files, the other for company access. I registered a new business checking account, linked it to my personal routing number, and locked Jake out of the QuickBooks login. He'd notice soon. I didn't care. I emailed Rachel copies of the whiskey video, plus a statement explaining who was present, what happened, and how Jake responded. I kept it factual, no heat. Let the footage speak for itself. Then I froze the shared payroll system, just a temporary hold to keep him from draining it. That one felt good. The condo was quiet except for the hum of the AC. I sat there, staring at the confirmation emails in my inbox, hands still on the keyboard. My heart wasn't racing. It was steady, solid. Jake had always been the storm, but I was the structure. And now, he didn't know what was coming. By morning, the emails started. Subject line, "Water under the bridge?" Jake's tone was fake casual. Said we'd both had too much to drink. Said I was being extra. Threw in a crying laugh emoji, like we were in high school. I didn't respond. An hour later, "Let's reset. My treat. Rolex store downtown." He attached a screenshot of a watch with a 4-digit price tag and a "bro I got you" in the body like that was gonna fix it. I archived that one too. Instead, I logged into the admin panel and changed every financial access credential. Locked him out of QuickBooks, payroll, invoices, the corporate credit line, all of it. Then I opened a new internal memo, titled it "Operational Transition, Immediate Attention," and sent it to every department head. Kept it short. Effective today, Mitch Carter is assuming full oversight of financial operations during a pending restructuring of the partnership. Department leads should direct all budgetary concerns to him until further notice. No drama, just facts. Jake must have read it within seconds because his office door slammed hard enough to shake the glass walls. "Mitch, my office, now." I stayed at my desk. Let him come to me. He stormed across the bullpen, tie loose, eyes bloodshot. "You seriously just hijacked the company?" he shouted. Every head in the room popped up. I stood and walked past him into the main conference room. "Staff meeting," I said loud enough for the whole floor to hear. "Now." People scrambled in, trying not to make eye contact. I stood at the head of the table. Jake took the far end, arms crossed like a toddler on timeout. Before I could say a word, he exploded. "This is complete bulls *** T, he snapped. "You can't just send out a memo and make yourself king. We're partners, Mitch. You remember that? Or do you only remember when you feel left out?" Nobody said anything. Someone cleared their throat. Jake pointed straight at me. "You sit there like you're some quiet victim, but you've always been a coward. You wait until something's already built, then act like it's yours." Still, I didn't speak. Just let him talk. "You wouldn't have survived without me. You were filing freight claims while I was landing national accounts. You want control? Fine. Let's see how long you last when your boring spreadsheets don't charm a client." His voice cracked on that last part, and he knew it. Phones weren't out, not openly, but I saw someone near the door tilt their screen just enough to start recording. Jake didn't notice. He kept going. "You think the staff respects you? You think clients are lining up to talk to the guy who stares at shipping forecasts all day?" The room was silent except for his breathing. Angry, fast. I turned to the group. "If anyone has questions about the transition, I'll be available this afternoon." And that was it. I walked out, leaving Jake red-faced, still standing. He wasn't used to losing the room, but he'd just done it all by himself. By the next morning, the video had legs. Someone posted it to a private industry Slack, and from there, it hit LinkedIn, a business Reddit thread, then a couple of group chats I wasn't even part of. Within 24 hours, I was getting emails with subject lines like, "Saw the video?" and "This true." Nobody had to explain what video. I already knew. Jake's voice, furious, whiny, unraveling, played on loop. His face red, his fists clenched, that whole rant laid bare. Clients started pulling back before we could even do damage control. By the end of the week, 2 longtime partners had reassessed their strategic alignment. One of them canceled a shipment already on the dock. Then came the real hit. Summit Midwest, one of our biggest vendors, paused all joint projects, pending internal review. Translation: they didn't want to be associated with a clown show. Jake panicked. He sent a mass email to department heads blaming unauthorized leadership shifts for the chaos. Tried to sound official, but it reeked of desperation. I didn't respond, didn't argue, didn't fire back. Just stayed focused on the paperwork, the attorney meetings, the transition docs. I wasn't going to get dragged into his meltdown. He cornered me that Friday. I was in the warehouse, talking to logistics about freezing our lower volume lanes. He barged in like he still owned the place. Wild-eyed, hair sticking to his forehead like he hadn't slept. "You smug son of a bitch," he hissed. "You leaked that video, didn't you?" I didn't even look up from the shipping report. "Wasn't me." "Bullshit. You're the only one who benefits. Now I've got clients ghosting me, my phone's dry, and you're sitting here acting like a damn monk while I bleed out." I finally looked at him. "You're bleeding because you cut your own throat." I didn't lift a finger. "You let it happen," he snapped. "You sat there while I blew up and just let it ride. You could have said something. You could have shut it down." I folded the paper and set it aside. "You're the one who threw the whiskey." That shut him up for a beat. He blinked like he didn't hear me right. Then his mouth opened, ready to deflect, twist it, spin it into a joke. But nothing came out. I stepped past him and kept walking. By Monday, our board of advisors scheduled an emergency call. People I hadn't spoken to in months were asking for my opinion now. Not his. The tide had turned. Not because I made it turn, but because people finally saw him without the gloss. I didn't take a victory lap. Didn't leak more videos. Didn't send out smug emails. I just kept moving. Kept the company from catching fire while he stood there holding the matchbook. Jake tried damage control. Podcast apology. A quote in a trade mag about navigating tough transitions. But the damage was done. Nobody was buying what he was selling anymore. Jake's lawsuit threat came in the form of a poorly worded email at 2 a.m. Subject: You're not walking away with MY Company. He CC'd our personal lawyers, 2 board members, and threw in a few dramatic lines about breach of fiduciary duty and character assassination, like he suddenly cared about legal definitions. I forwarded it to Rachel without even reading the whole thing. She called me by 10 that morning. "We're done playing around," she said. "Filing the dissolution paperwork today. And I'm submitting a formal complaint to the board about the financial misconduct, including screenshots of those transfers." "Do it," I told her. "No more warnings." Jake must have realized he couldn't yell his way out of it, so he switched gears, started reaching out to old allies, people we'd known for years, vendors, board members, client contacts. He tried to charm them, spin his usual "Mitch is just in a mood" routine. But the charm was gone. Too many had seen the video. Too many had heard the rant or watched him spiral over the last 2 weeks. Nobody bought the act anymore. One of the board members, a guy named Don who Jake used to golf with, emailed me directly. "Tell me your side," he said. "I want to hear it from you." I didn't vent. I didn't trash Jake. I sent a clean, professional reply with attached documentation. Financials, timeline, screenshots, witness statements. Then I drafted a full board-wide email. To the board of directors, effective immediately, I'm requesting formal action be taken to remove Jake Benson from all executive functions pending investigation into unauthorized fund transfers, breach of partner protocol, and misconduct. All supporting evidence is attached. I remain committed to the continued operations and success of Redline Logistics. No emotion, no drama, just a surgical strike. I hit send. 2 hours later, I got the reply. Subject line: Board decision. Immediate action approved. It was unanimous. Jake was suspended from all leadership duties pending a full internal review. His access to financial systems, client accounts, and internal ops was revoked that same afternoon. I watched from my office window as security walked him out. He didn't fight it, didn't yell, just kept his head down, carrying that same designer messenger bag he used to swing around like a badge of honor. He didn't even look up at my window. Back at my desk, I opened the file titled Transition Phase 2 and picked up the phone to call Rachel. "It's done," I said. She didn't say congratulations. Just, "Now we lock it down. I'll get the filings ready for full separation. We're close." Jake thought he was untouchable, that he could act how he wanted, say what he wanted, and still come out clean. Turns out, even golden boys have limits. It was just after 10 when the knock came. Not loud, not rushed. Just 2 knocks, slow and almost polite. I was still at my kitchen table, half a beer in front of me, inbox open on my laptop. I didn't need to check the peephole. I already knew. I opened the door. Jake stood there with his hands in his pockets, hoodie pulled over his head like some washed-up college kid. His face was pale, puffy around the eyes. No swagger, no fake grin, just tired. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside without saying a word. He walked in like he didn't recognize the place, like he thought maybe he'd walked into the wrong condo. I closed the door behind him and leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He stayed standing. "We've been friends forever, man," he said, voice low. "I know I've been a pain in the ass, but this? You really gonna torch the whole thing?" I didn't move, just watched him. "You think I meant for it to get this bad?" he went on. "You think I was trying to screw you over? Come on, Mitch. We built that company together. Don't act like you didn't enjoy the ride." I kept quiet. Let him talk. He rubbed his face and let out a shaky breath. "You're not like this. You're not the guy who does scorched earth. This lawyer's got you thinking I'm the villain in some Netflix doc." "You don't miss me," I said. "You miss being in charge." He froze. Didn't deny it, not at first. He just stared at the floor. "That's not fair," he said finally. "You think I planned all this? You think I wanted to steal the spotlight? Half the time I was just picking up slack while you overthought everything." There it was. The deflection. The old routine. Turn it back on me. "You acted like the company only worked because you were loud enough to sell it," I said. I let it happen. That's on me. But don't stand in my living room and rewrite history. He looked up at me. So that's it. Yeah, I said. That's it. His eyes welled, but nothing fell. After all the late nights, the launches, the deals, everything we pulled off, I shrugged. Thanks for showing me who you really were. He shook his head like he wanted to argue, like there was more fight in him. But there wasn't. He walked to the door, then turned back. You think this makes you the hero? No, I said. It makes me free. He stared at me another second, like he was waiting for a crack, some flicker of regret. When he didn't find it, he left without another word. The door clicked shut behind him. I didn't feel victorious, but I felt done. I showed up early, before anyone else, before the lights were even on. The building was quiet, just the low hum of the air system kicking through the vents. I walked through the office with a cardboard box in my hands and stopped at the door that used to have both our names on it. Mitch Carter/Jake Benson, Managing Partners. Now it just had mine. The sticker with his name peeled off, leaving a dirty rectangle behind. I walked in. The place was clean, borderline sterile. Neat desk, leather chair, shelf of business books I'd never actually read. A framed photo of the company's ribbon cutting from 6 years ago. Jake had picked out most of it, said the space should look like success. Truth was, it never looked like me. I started clearing it out, stacked papers, pulled down the photo, tossed the books into the box without even flipping through them. Inside the bottom drawer, I found the notebook from our very first planning session. Cheap spiral-bound, yellowed pages. I opened it and saw my handwriting: route costs, startup capital, freight lanes we'd target. Back when we were hungry, when we were equals. I tossed it in the box, shut the drawer, and stood up. I wasn't coming back. Back at home, I sat down at my kitchen table and opened a blank Google document, typed the words, Mitch Carter, Logistics and Ops Consultant. That was it. Simple, clean, no fluff, no buzzwords. I updated my resume, cleaned up my LinkedIn, and sent a short message to a few former contacts who'd left the industry or moved to new companies. By that afternoon, I had 7 responses. 3 of them with legit opportunities. All of them said the same thing: we saw the videos. We know what really happened. You handled it right. It wasn't praise I wanted, but it was something else: validation. For once, I didn't second-guess it. More emails rolled in over the next few days. Some from past employees who'd quit because of Jake. Some from vendors who admitted they never liked working with him but stayed for the contract. A few just said, "Took guts. Respect." I didn't feel guilty. That surprised me the most. No ache, no shame, no wondering if I'd overreacted. Just relief. Then came Jake's last Hail Mary. Rachel texted me. He filed for an emergency injunction to block the split. Wants to freeze all company assets until you settle. Called her. Serious. Dead serious. He's trying to stall. Buy time. Maybe scare you. What are the odds? Slim to none. But I'm filing our response now. We'll be in court by Thursday. I showed up that morning in a plain navy suit, no tie. Rachel walked in beside me like she'd been waiting for this all year. Jake was already there, pacing, his lawyer whispering in his ear like it would help. When the judge finally came out, it took less than 15 minutes. Motion denied. Jake didn't even look at me when it ended. Just stood there, jaw clenched, while the court clerk read the final ruling. His lawyer patted him on the back like he'd lost a little league game. We walked out without a word. In the parking lot, I opened my phone and read another email. This one from a West Coast freight group. They wanted to talk partnership. Said they liked my calm under fire. I smiled. Not because I'd won, but because I was finally out. The papers were warm from the printer. Rachel slid them across the table and handed me a pen. This finalizes it, she said. Red line is officially split. You're free to move forward solo. I didn't hesitate, just signed. First name, last name, clean strokes. That was it. No confetti, no handshake, no speech. I walked out of her office, got in my truck, and drove to a coffee shop 2 blocks away. Not one I normally went to. This place had a quiet back corner with tables and nobody pretending to be important. Just regular people minding their own lives. I ordered a black coffee and sat near the window. No laptop, no notepad, just my phone. New message. Subject line. Consulting request. Urgent fulfillment audit. Mid-sized freight company out of Memphis. Saw the post. Heard I was free. Wanted to talk. I read it twice, then set the phone down and looked out the window. The cars passed slow. People walked by holding their cups and chatting about nothing. No noise in my head. Just stillness. I let it go on too long, but I ended it. That's what matters. That thought settled over me like a jacket I'd finally grown into. I took another sip, then stood to leave. The bell over the door jingled as someone walked in. Guy in a gray blazer, button down half untucked. Familiar face. He'd been at the anniversary dinner, one of the regional clients. I remembered him laughing awkwardly when the whiskey hit me. He saw me. We locked eyes. No apology. No pity. Just a quiet nod. I gave one back. And then I smiled. Not for him. Not for anything to do with Jake. Just for me. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't anyone's shadow. I wasn't holding the line while someone else soaked up the light. I walked out of the shop and into the fall air, hands free, no weight on my back. It didn't feel like revenge. Felt like a beginning.